KIMT News 3, coverage you can count on. This is KIMT News 3 at 5.
It's a very, very complicated case.
A man convicted of third-degree murder says Olmsted County prosecutors got it wrong. Hear why the county attorney says he is confident the man is guilty.
And we continue to track the severe potential as showers and storms make their way through. Chief Meteorologist Tyler Roney and I will time out the rest of the activity.
As Minnesota mourns the loss of a correctional officer, I'm learning what policies and procedures are in place to keep Sarasota County correctional deputies safe. I'm KIMT News 3's Brian Tabak. I'll have that story coming up in a live report.
Let's take a look right away at what's in store in tonight's newscast. In tonight's forecast, we are tracking active severe weather in the area. Then, after a corrections officer is killed in Minnesota, we are learning what security measures are in place at a local jail. Plus, U.S. Senator Joni Ernst comments on a plan that could spur economic development in North Iowa. But first, for a look at your forecast, here's KIMT Storm Team 3 Chief Meteorologist Tyler Roney. Tyler, what are you tracking?
Amy, locally in North Iowa and southern Minnesota, today's been all about the rainfall and really a lack of sunshine, which ironically is actually helping us kind of avoid the worst of the threat that has been going on to our south. Before we zoom out, just a quick look across our area on Storm Tracker 3 Doppler radar. We have those showers and thunderstorms making their way through, none of which are severe. A lot of the activity with the severe threat has been confined to southern and eastern Iowa, where very dangerous storms continue to rip across parts of eastern Iowa right now. Tornado emergencies declared in places like Bondurant, Marshalltown, even an evacuation in Vermeer, Iowa, due to a gas leak. And as we zoom out even more, you can see that we're continuing to see these wraparound showers and storms, which we're continuing to track for tonight. Across Iowa and Minnesota this afternoon, now heading into this evening, all eyes on the sky. Let's start by looking at our Mason City live eye in the sky. Still overcast, some rain from time to time, does look very gloomy and a little intimidating outside, but nothing severe at the moment. And here's our live eye in the sky now over Rochester, more rain, and that is what is exactly in store for tonight. Tornado watch in effect in those counties shaded in yellow. That's to our south. We don't have any active watches or warnings in the area right now. Meteorologist Sarah Knox and I will continue to track our severe threat throughout the remainder of tonight.
Members of law enforcement throughout the state of Minnesota are mourning today after a corrections officer is killed in the line of duty.
Today is a very sad day for the corrections family. We believe for the first time in history we have lost a corrections officer to violence in our institution at Stillwater.
The state's Department of Corrections says Officer Joseph Gaum was attacked by an inmate Wednesday afternoon at a prison in Stillwater. Authorities say it happened inside the prison's industry building, where inmates are given tools in order to learn trades like carpentry and welding. This man is accused of carrying out that fatal attack. The Department of Corrections says Edward Johnson is serving time on a homicide conviction. According to the Washington County Attorney's Office, Johnson is now being housed at a facility in Oak Park Heights, where he is being held in segregation. In the wake of the fatal attack, law enforcement agencies are reaching out to offer their condolences. This is a post from the Minnesota Sheriff's Association that was shared on social media by the Albert Lea Police Department today. It says that thoughts and prayers go out to the family, friends, and co-workers of Joseph Gaum. KIMT News 3's Brian Tabak is talking with local correctional deputies about what policies are in place and how they keep themselves safe when they encounter an aggressive inmate. He joins us now live from the Cerro Gordo County Jail. Brian?
Yeah, Amy, those I spoke with at the Sarasota County Jail today tell me that there are a number of different situations that can become dangerous, whether that's dealing with those who suffer from mental illness or just being understaffed. But one correctional officer I spoke with today says that there are policies and procedures in place to try and keep them safe. Jeff Buellen has worked at the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office as a correctional officer for 11 years and says they deal with aggressive inmates all the time. He says the state has guidelines each jail has to follow, and there are policies in their own jails, such as how long they can keep inmates in restraints and what kind of restraints they can use. But Buellen says in the case of what happened yesterday, sometimes these policies and guidelines just don't help.
Sometimes it's just things you can't avoid, things that you can't prevent. It's a tragedy and we feel bad for everybody involved.
Now, Bulin says that the Sarasota County Jail is also understaffed. Amy, he says that there are 2 job postings right now for correctional officers, and with another correctional officer ready to retire in the near future, there could potentially be another opening coming up. Live in Sarasota County, Brian Tabbitt, KIMT News 3.
Thank you, Brian. It's not just correctional officers, but also those out on the streets who put themselves in harm's way. The St. Paul Police Department says an officer is recovering tonight after being shot during a call. They are not releasing the officer's name, but say they are expected to survive. Police say one person is now in custody and there is no ongoing threat at this hour. A motorcycle crash earlier this week leads to 2 drug arrests in Rochester. Police searched a home on the 2500 block of Lake Shady Avenue South in Orinoco yesterday. They say the crashed motorcycle was registered to someone at that address. That man, 31-year-old Brig Cuff, has been arrested already this week. 41-year-old Kimberly Lemmerman showed up during the search and was also arrested. Police say they found meth, $2,400 in cash, and prescription pills. Both Koff and Lemmerman face charges of drug sales and possession. State lawmakers are hoping to reinvest in low-income areas by creating opportunity zones, with several in North Iowa, including Mason City. KIMT News 3's Alex Jurgens is live at Southport Plaza in Mason City, where one of those zones is to be located. Alex?
Amy, if you've driven by Southport Plaza, you may have noticed a lot of empty storefronts and a largely empty parking lot. However, the state of Iowa is looking to change that by creating opportunity zones in the hopes that investors can create reinvestment in entrepreneurial opportunities. Now, I spoke with U.S. Senator Joni Ernst on the phone this morning, and she hopes that this declaration will help this seemingly forgotten area. U.S. Senator Joni Ernst announced the state is establishing a tax incentive called Opportunity Zones. Mason City applied and was nominated. One zone legally declared by Governor Reynolds includes the Southport Plaza and west of downtown Mason City. Senator Ernst says that she hopes that the zones will inspire those to make an investment in their community.
Those that want to invest in their local communities, we see great opportunities there. If there are other entities that have looked for a way to gain foothold in an organization and for the betterment of that community.
Now, coming up on KIMT News 3 at 6, hear from an insurance agent who works near the declared area and see what this means for his business. Live in Mason City, Alex Jurgens, KIMT News 3.
Thank you, Alex. The state has almost 250 eligible areas, but only 62 can be nominated. A man convicted of third-degree murder reaches out to KIMT News 3. Hear why he wants to share his story now. Next.
You're watching KIMT News 3 at 5. KIMT News 3, coverage you can count on.
A man who is serving time for murder for selling drugs that caused another man to overdose claims he's innocent. That man is Darnell McDaniels, who is now speaking out about his case. Take a look at this timeline of events. It all started in January of 2015 when Daniel Keene died of a heroin overdose. In March of 2016, Darnell McDaniels was arrested. A year later, he was convicted, and today he is sharing his story exclusively with KIMT News 3. KIMT News 3's Kaylin Thompson spoke with him. And Kaylin, what did McDaniels reach out to us and have to say?
Amy, McDaniels contacted us in hopes of getting his story out, saying he doesn't want anyone else to share his fate. Back in May of this year, the Minnesota Appeals Court rejected McDaniels' argument that there was insufficient evidence against him, meaning his conviction and sentence will not change anytime soon. But as he told me, he's not giving up quite yet.
Hello, this is a prepaid call from an inmate in the Minnesota Department of Corrections, Fairmont Correctional Facility.
Oh, yeah, my name is Darnell McDaniels. I've been convicted of a third-degree murder.
It's a crime that limits Darnell McDaniels to 15-minute phone calls while he's in prison. He's serving a sentence of 13 years and 2 months after being convicted of allegedly selling heroin to Daniel Keene, a sale that ended up taking his life back in January of 2015.
If you look at everything, you will see that I ain't do nothing.
It's a crime that McDaniels claims he didn't commit.
It's a very, very complicated case.
Olmsted County Attorney Mark Ostrom says it's difficult to prove that one particular heroin sale led to Keene's overdose.
I'm very confident that we got it right.
And the reason he's confident,
It's called Spiegel evidence.
and that's evidence of other crimes, wrongs, or acts. Court documents say McDaniels visited the victim, Daniel Keene, here at the Reza House, which is a sober living home for recovering addicts. There was evidence of items associated with heroin, like a tan, powdery substance, spoon, and hypodermic needle in Keene's room. And McDaniels admitted to selling heroin to Keene in the past.
So we knew that Mr. McDaniels had previously sold drugs, and in fact, I think we had an admission from Mr. McDaniels that he had sold drugs. But this is the piece that is most significant in the war on drugs, is to do what we can to save lives.
Right.
William Whitehorn is McDaniels' voice outside of prison walls.
We really need to fix this hole in the justice system.
McDaniels wants to share his story to help the next person.
So the public need a face like mine, who's known to the police for selling drugs. I'm the perfect poster boy to take this case.
Before time runs out.
Thank you for using GTL.
Yeah.
Currently, McDaniels is in the process of entering a second appeal, and I'm told this is a legal review and will decide if the court made any errors that caused him not to get a fair trial. Live in the Rochester studio, Kaylin Thompson, KIMT News 3.
Thank you very much, Kaylin. The Olmsted County Attorney tells us this process could take up to a year. More drama in Washington, D.C. today after President Trump announces he's inviting Russian President Vladimir Putin to the White House. That story coming up.
And we're not done with the showers or thunderstorms just yet. We'll time everything out for you coming up next.
We track storms to alert you first. This is KIMT Storm Team 3, weather coverage you can count on.
Still quite a bit of cloud cover over North Iowa. Here's what it looks like on our Mason City live eye in the sky. Kind of dealing with on and off again showers and a few thunderstorms across the area, but nothing severe right now. Across North Iowa, as you see on Storm Tracker 3 Doppler radar, just those spotty showers and storms continuing, and we're really looking at kind of that wraparound effect thanks to an area of low pressure bringing in all of the moisture. Today's activity really kind of confined to southern and eastern Iowa, where some very strong storms continue, including some active tornadoes that have already caused catastrophic damage across parts of Iowa, including places like Bondurant and Marshalltown. And the storms continue to make their way into southeastern Iowa. We're still continuing to track a threat for severe weather, at least locally, but the fact that we had the cloud cover today, that kind of prevented a lot of that severe threat from really ramping up, at least across our area. Right now, we're sitting in the upper 60s in Charles City, in Forest City and Mason City, both 73. But look at where we're seeing a little bit of clearing, already warming into the low 80s. Going through the remainder of this evening, we'll continue to track those showers and thunderstorms. We'll be dealing with them really the remainder of the night, kind of on and off again as we go into your Thursday evening. Even overnight Thursday, still seeing those showers and thunderstorms, but not quite as widespread overnight, and nor will we be dealing with the severe weather threat overnight. So that is also good news. Going into Friday morning, still quite a bit of cloud cover. We'll see some breaks during the afternoon, but we'll still be dealing with some of the moisture on the backside of this system. So some lingering showers throughout your Friday. Slight risk for severe weather, at least locally. Most of that activity has been staying to our south, though, and it's something, again, that we are monitoring throughout tonight. Over the next 7 days, with the weekend's always in view, the clouds will begin to clear out on Saturday, leaving us to a quiet weekend and a quiet start to next week. For a look at your southern Minnesota forecast, here's meteorologist Sarah Knox. Sarah?
Thank you very much, Tyler. We'll begin with a live look over the Med City this evening. As Tyler mentioned, the cloud cover actually helping to keep the energies down and keeping a lot of that severe threat mostly to the south, not so much here in southeastern Minnesota. However, we have seen quite a bit of rainfall, as you see there, the speckles on the camera. Storm Tracker 3 Doppler radar, I wanted to zoom it out so we could see that spiral of the low pressure system as it just continues to give us these scattered showers and wreak havoc for our friends to the south there in central and eastern Iowa. As far as what we have seen here across southern Minnesota, a tornado was reported earlier today, really around 1 p.m. That's right along the border of Iowa and Minnesota. However, in our neck of the woods, all we've really seen are just the scattered showers and a few spots of embedded lightning. Right now, Lime Springs getting some of the heaviest. Harmony also seeing some moderate rainfall moving through. Radar estimated rainfall over the last 24 hours saw quite a bit in both Austin and Albert Lea, around 1 to 2 inches there, and of course some additional rainfall on the way, as Sky Tracker 3 is going to show us as we come into the evening. Again, the activity due to that spiral relatively scattered across the area, but embedded with some heavier rainfall expected. We do start to see it wane a little bit as we get into Friday morning, but ultimately things are going to stay around with that threat for the rainfall until Saturday, where we're just looking at partly to mostly cloudy skies and finally some clearing as we head into Sunday. And here is the 7-day forecast where the weekend is always in view. As I mentioned, partly sunny skies for Saturday. Then we're back to full sunshine Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Some nice temperatures as well, so we can enjoy those mostly sunny skies after we get through the scattered rain.
Thank you very much, Sarah. So a lot of that activity tonight really kind of being impacted in southern and eastern Iowa. Very scary situation, and our severe weather threat not completely nullified just yet. We're still tracking that chance, but the really strong storms looking to stay to our south tonight.
Okay, thank you for that, Tyler. Just hours ago, the White House announced President Trump is issuing an invitation to Russian President Vladimir Putin to visit the nation's capital this fall. Trump is still dealing with the fallout after the two leaders met earlier this week. Angelica Alvarez has the latest from the White House.
President Trump signed an executive order establishing a new jobs training initiative for American workers at the White House. But the spotlight remained on the president's conflicting statements about whether he believes Russia meddled in the 2016 presidential election.
You haven't condemned Putin specifically. Do you hold him personally responsible?
Well, I would, because he's in charge of the country, just like I consider myself to be responsible for things that happen in this country. So certainly, as the leader of a country, you would have to hold him responsible, yes.
The president is facing increasing pressure to explain why he didn't publicly denounce Russian President Vladimir Putin during their summit in Helsinki. Dan Coates, the chief intelligence officer, says he stands by those findings.
I wished he had made a different statement. But I think that now that has been clarified.
Republicans in the House Intelligence Committee blocked a vote by Democrats to subpoena the interpreter who was in the room with Mr. Trump and Putin for their nearly 2-hour private meeting.
We do not buy the denial of Vladimir Putin. We regret that our president did.
The president also received criticism for not shutting down a request from Putin to interrogate former U.S. Ambassador Michael McFaul. A bipartisan resolution passed the Senate 98-0, opposing any attempt to make U.S. diplomats available to Russia for questioning. Angelica Alvarez, CBS News, the White House.
A plan to improve transit is moving forward in Rochester. Plus, a local organization is seeking volunteers. Learn where your help is needed next. One program in Rochester is now looking for volunteers to give older neighbors a hand. Family Service Rochester is expanding its Neighbors Helping Neighbors program to seniors and the disabled who live across Olmsted County. They used to only serve the city of Rochester. It's a service where volunteers come into homes and help complete household chores like cleaning and organizing. The program helps people like John Adamson Jr., who was injured in a tractor accident 12 years ago. Now he's in a wheelchair and has trouble doing some basic household tasks.
There's a lot of it here I can't do, especially when you got to reach in high places, which really makes it a challenge for folks in wheelchairs.
Adamson also says this program has allowed him to live independently. If you would like to volunteer for Neighbors Helping Neighbors, head to KIMT.com and click the volunteer link inside this story. As Rochester continues to grow, the city is looking at adapting public transit to accommodate Rochester's increasing population. The Committee on Urban Design is made up of volunteers like Paul Sims. The city is asking them to help them apply for a transit grant to get community support of the project. The grant will serve as a pilot project to beef up the city's transit systems. Here's a look at the study area for the proposed plan.
We are growing, and we have an affordable housing crisis in the city. We have a transportation system which works now, but as the city grows, will be undersized.
The City of Rochester is applying for the grant on July 24th. The Federal Transit Administration will decide sometime next year whether to fund the project. We have a road closure update for you. Today, the right travel lane of 19th Street West in Rochester between West Frontage Road and 20th Avenue Northwest will be closed while contractors work on replacing sidewalks. The lane is expected to be closed through Friday, July 27th. When we come back, we'll take a look at your weather forecast, plus a look at stories coming up on KIMT News 3 at 6. Well, welcome back. We're just talking right now about some of the severe weather that's happening in and around the Des Moines area. I know you've been really watching this, especially around Altoona.
Absolutely, Amy. And this is really where everything got started this afternoon. This is around 3 o'clock, and this is a live look, or rather 2 hours ago at Altoona. And this is the two tornadoes that really kind of started everything moving into southeastern Iowa. We mentioned that there's been a tornado emergency in Vermeer, Iowa, Marshalltown, Iowa, even around the Pella area. But two tornadoes, and then we ended up seeing a really strong tornado as we saw that storm move further to the southeast. So widespread damage, those storms still in southeastern Iowa. Locally, we're still tracking showers and thunderstorms, not to that extent, but we'll have an update tonight on KIMT News 3 at 6.
Okay, I hope you can join us then.